Get your groupies ready to hit the music festival because the bands are ready to come together.
Hey gang, and thanks for joining us at Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're giving our thoughts and opinions on Come Together from ChiliFox Games.
This is a 1 to 6 player worker placement game where you're acting as a manager of a Woodstock-like music festival. Let's take a look at how it's played.
To set up the game, you'll place out the round 1 location tiles near the board with each deck of cards above them.
Select 3 newspaper tiles for your round scoring.
Then give each player their board, tokens, starting cards, and deal everyone 5 planning cards.
Based on player count, everyone will place their active, resting, and reserved workers on their spaces, and then you're ready to begin.
Players will take turns in the game sending out their workers to gain stages, bands, camps, and audience members.
When placing workers, some spaces require more than 1 worker, and some spaces have an immediate bonus.
Players won't take the card associated with their space until a row has been activated on a later turn.
When it is activated, all players in the row will get a bonus track movement based on how many slots in the row were filled. So in this example, 3.
The round ends when the marker reaches the end of the activation track, and players will gain any cards that did not activate.
The newspaper tile will score based on the track, and players will receive a bonus or penalty depending on where they ended on their track.
Now it's time for the bands to hit the stage and the festival to begin.
Bands need the right type of fans before they will play.
Up-and-comer bands will gain publicity points based on the teal track, and star bands will score based on the orange track.
Bonus stage points might also be awarded.
If there wasn't room for all of your fans at the stage, they will need a place to crash, and you must check the camp to see how many meeples can stay until the next festival.
Once you've successfully held 3 festivals, points will be tallied, and the player with the most publicity points wins. Come Together is a tongue-in-cheek celebration of 60s and 70s rock music with plenty of board game puns tucked in there as well. You'll be playing a pretty heavy-duty worker placement game. It's about a 60 to 90 minute play, and you'll be working through a couple of different rounds in the game, trying to get your workers out into just the right places to try to set your stage, to find all the right fans, to grow the size of your camps and how many people you can hold, all for the purpose of throwing some fantastic music get-togethers where everyone can come together and help you score points and win the game.
Yep. So in the game, some things that are a little bit different from normal worker placement games is that you don't get to take the cards out on the spaces that you go to. So in most worker placements, you go to a space, pick up whatever's there. This one, you have to wait until that row is activated, which can be pretty strategic. You can place like, oh, I know Will really needs these stage cards because we're about to score, the round's almost over. It's about time for the festival, and he doesn't even have stages for his bands yet. So he's gotta activate this one. I'm gonna go there so I can pick up an extra stage because I got an up-and-comer band in my hand. So there's a little bit different planning and timing in the game because you don't get everything that you want immediately.
Right, so you do have to kind of scour the board, see what's out there, what's changed from round to round, place your meeples in just the right places and spin them because some of them will cost you more than 1 meeple at a time to be able to collect the bonuses. As you are placing out your workers, you're kind of just you are really paying attention to that timing element. You want to make sure that you kind of get out there early so that you got maybe 1 or 2 of the items in the row that you'll be collecting that may help you end up triggering it and helping yourself to move up along a number of your different tracks. But you do have to balance everything, which is nice. So you don't want too many meeples coming in that are going to go to the concert if you don't have room for those in your tents or vans or wherever they're sleeping at. And so you do have to really strategically pay attention to your own board as well as the other players and what their actions are going to give them in their turns in the game.
Yeah, and if you don't get the cards you need, so we didn't even talk about the gameplay about how to get your workers once you spend them. You don't just get them at the end of the round. You get them when you take a resting action. The workers that you have in your van waiting will come back to your board, and you can choose to just draw cards, 3 cards, or you can choose to take a reserved worker and place it in your van so that you get additional workers for later times that you choose to take the rest action. So that's a good balance of, you know, I don't like any of the cards that are out. I don't like the spots that are available to me. Instead of getting that 1 extra worker, which could be beneficial, I'll just get cards. I know I really need some band cards, or I really need meeples to go out to watch the bands, and the ones don't match the cards I've already planned for. So there are some other thinking that you may do when you do the rest action that we didn't even talk about.
Whenever you start a new round, new tracks will come out, which will populate with new cards. You will be using that same activation track throughout the course of the round, but you'll also have a new newspaper that comes out that's going to tell you what levels you need to reach on some of your tracks. So if you don't make it far enough along on your newspaper track, you'll suffer those penalties at the end of the round. If you do make it far enough, then you'll gain the bonuses, which will really help boost you towards the next round and towards scoring lots of points.
Yeah, so things that I enjoyed about this game, I liked the new mechanism of not getting stuff right away. That was fine. That was something new to me in a worker placement game. And I was okay with all the little bonuses on the tracks that you got. It almost felt like some of those roll and writes that are popular right now. Oh, I got this bonus on this track, which moved me on this other track, and now I got this extra flower power, which I can use in a future turn when I am moving on tracks. So some of that felt reminiscent of a roll and write, chaining lots of different bonuses. The one negative that I saw was I wasn't thrilled with the artwork. It was very muted, and which I like the colors. I didn't like there wasn't much contrast. So some of the board, depending on your lighting, might be a little difficult to see some of the icons out on the board. The icons all seem to make sense, and were intuitive enough. You need stages and then bands to go on the stage, and then you need meeples to come watch the show. All that made sense. It was just difficult, and with a larger player count where you're not as close to the board to see everything. They could have added a border around it or something that had some contrast.
I actually did enjoy the art. I also really enjoyed the board game puns. They took a lot of like historic musicians and then they somehow twisted them to make them board gamey, which was fun. I enjoyed looking at everything out on the table. It is a little bit of a table hog because you've got a central board with wings coming out with all the cards, plus you've got your own boards that you're expanding to, but at the same time it's got a pretty fun table presence. I also did just kind of like some of the components that you used in the game. So you are using your VW bus, and you've got your flower powers, and all these different things. It had a good theme that felt enjoyable and fun. We were obviously playing the tunes in the background as we played, which also makes it more fun. And yeah, I did like some of the worker placement mechanics, as well as that feeling of successfully unlocking another thing, which chained to another thing, which chained to another thing. I didn't feel like the game took too long at all. Like as we were playing it, the time flew by. We were at the end of the last track. I didn't quite get everybody where I wanted. I wanted more people to be at the concert. All these different things, all the good tensions that you want in there. And yeah, I think if you're a fan of, hippie music era type stuff, if you enjoy a little bit more crunchy of a worker placement without being too heavy or too crazy, and if you enjoy the other fun stuff that ChiliFox is putting out, then definitely you should check out Come Together.
Yeah. I have played it at the higher player count. There are a couple of rule changes once you get to 5 and 6 players. So you start by just activating a card, and then you don't have any cards for the first round. So the first round felt very different with 5 and 6 players than it did with 4 or less. But the rest of the game seemed to be very similar. Like there's a couple more slots on the activation track, so the gameplay seemed very similar, except for that first couple of turns. You're like, I don't have any cards. I don't even know what to do or where to go. It made you activate a lot of tracks quickly to get cards, so it sped up the first round a little bit, which could have dragged the game on in a higher player count.
I feel like some worker placement games, like you have a turn where you literally there's not any good spaces to take on the board. I didn't really feel that in this game because you can always rest and pull them back, which clears off a track. You can always I don't know, I just felt like there were plenty of places to go because I was kind of the one choosing when my people came back and when a row got cleared. So, worst case, I was getting to move on bonus tracks because I cleared a row.
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the main ways to move on the bonus tracks on your board too, and that's how you're going to score points for your bands, is moving on those tracks. So activating rows is a big benefit because you'll get a bonus item and you will be able to choose which row you're going to activate and which tracks to move on.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on in Come Together from ChiliFox Games. If it looks like something you'd be interested in, be sure to check it out. And then as always, thanks so much for tuning in, following along, liking our videos, and subscribing here at Tantrum House.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're looking at
A board game. Hour and 20
Oh,
minutes.
we have a whole hour. I was
Plenty
like
of time.
wrapping it up.
She was talking
trying
real
to-
fast.
I was talking fast at the end because thought I was literally down to
the
10
memory
seconds.
stick was almost out. 60s rock music as well as board game fanarism. I love rock and roll.